My name is Harry, and I'm from London.
Meghan Markle here.
Alright, so let's get some recording out of the way since I have the time. Right now it's 2:55 p.m. At least later tonight when I get back in the computer, I'll just edit. Every time that I criticize a comment or I criticize YouTube and a comment, I have this thing in the corner popped up. How satisfied are you with creating posts? Extremely satisfied, very satisfied, moderately satisfied, slightly satisfied, not satisfied at all. I'm just gonna ignore it because YouTube is something. But anyway, what I want to share with you, I just finished edit some videos that I did I think either last night or yesterday or something like that. And this one I did earlier last night. These are the ones that I need to edit. But new tweets are popping up. Some of them I've already shared with you on my community board. It's sort of mango between news in terms of politics and some of the squad and Sussexes. Let's see, maybe up to here I think. These are the news. So let's get to it. I'm not sure where I'm gonna put it. Either APTS Sussex and Pt1, but nothing for output of Pew service. Oh, actually, the thing that I need to publish now. Okay, this I just finished edited. The first part is on Pt1. The second part is an output of Pew service. The only reason I did that because output of Pew service is demonetized. So this whole entire discussion that Heavy had should have been on output of Pew service. But because it's demonetized, the channel is demonetized, I put it on the one that's monetized, where I could make some money, even though it's not that much. A penny is worth something, right? So, and I put the last part and output of Pew service. So that's the one I'm gonna make public right now. I'm gonna publish. And it's like 2:57 p.m. Okay, so it's on output of Pew service. But forget the background. Whatever I'm gonna share with you is either gonna be on APTS Sussex or Pt1. Pt1. So this is the first part. It's already public. 28 people have seen it so far. There's 4 comments. Let's go on Twitter. And this is something for Santa Bali. I added on the list, but it's further down. Let's focus on the list. So when I'm editing, if there's a group of the tweets that belong on Pt1 or APTS Sussex, I could just cut it together. But anyway, let's get started. This is the first tweet. It's another royal. What is that? Ras whole chat, aka weekly moaning about the Sussexes and their successful departure from the racist royal. Royal Nika doesn't believe Boris Johnson, and Chris, there's the word here, aka Talibanship. There's the word again. ASS whole Meyer. There's a lot of profanity on it, so I'm not gonna repeat them. Says Harry will be added. Says Harry will have added this to his 6 million best-selling world, spared by Prince Harry our next week and paper book, by the way. Okay, but let's listen. Too much. It's a thread. It's a thread. I wasn't aware of that, but let's start from the top. Maybe this will be one by itself. This one is 2 minutes and 1 second.
So, wasn't on my bingo card of, I don't know, who do you call if you want to convince Prince Harry to not leave the royal family? Apparently, Boris Johnson was the man for the job. He has also shared conversations in his memoir with Harry, which he says he was instructed to carry out to convince him to not Mexit, but to stay as part of the royal fold. Now, apparently, Chris, the mandate was go and have a manly chat with Harry.
Well, look, I think Harry and Boris, if I can use this phrase, are on the same page when it comes to revealing private conversations in a memoir. I mean, Harry did that, and one of the reasons why Prince William and the King are very guarded about any conversations they have with Harry now is because...
Oh, please. This is why Harry went to court, okay? This is why Harry went to court. If anything that Harry said that was false, the court is there to prove themselves. Okay, because Harry literally said he tried to make things private. Every time he have conversation privately with these people, his family, they go out and make it public.
Institutional role, why be so public? You say you tried to do this privately.
And every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. You know, the family motto is never complain, never explain. But it's just a motto, and it doesn't really hold.
There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining.
Endless.
Private being done through leaks.
Through leaks. They will feed or have a conversation with the correspondent, and that correspondent will literally be spoon-fed information and write the story, and in the bottom of it, they will say that they've reached out to Buckingham Palace for comment. But the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting. So when we're being told for the last 6 years, we can't put a statement out to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family, there becomes a point when silence is betrayal. So again, one of the reasons why I wrote this book is every word in that book is mine. And I realized that especially...
What do you mean by that?
Because the amount of unnamed sources that have fed information to the British tabloids about me and my wife and my family.
You have a source,
true
and it's you.
and not true. I am the source of that book.
For instance, one of the things that he wanted to do once he leave is to go to South Africa. They leaked it. Then he changed it to Canada. Is it Canada? No. They leaked it either Australia or what's the other that has similar flag, almost the same. I forgot the name of the other country. They leaked it. Then when he finally went to Canada, once they know exactly where he's at in Canada, they send someone at his front door. So Harry is not lying about anything. Every time he tried to make it private with his family, then they go and run their mouth to the tabloid.
The press and the media.
That's
and as
true.
they say at the start of episode 1, they say so many books and shows and stories have been written about us. We wanted to have our own say. And remember, the purpose of the PR office at the royal family is to keep the royals in the press all the time. So you have to remember, when I work in newsrooms, it's a fact that every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
But why
and if it comes from Kensington Palace, why are they briefing against their own grand...
okay.
Please. And this is Harry is alive, you know. If people could ask him, I'm pretty sure he would say that's between him and Boris. But since Boris made it public, Harry could confirm it or deny it, or don't say anything at all.
Up in his book or as a future Netflix.
Sure, but I mean, Harry wrote about his family. He's a member of that family. Boris was Prime Minister, which is an office he held. And
I'm surprised you make that distinction now, because before it seems like whenever Harry was talking about his book, Harry was a complete stranger to the royal family. But let's continue.
with that comes an expectation of levels.
Yeah, but I think there's probably an expectation within the family that you're having a private conversation. It's not going to end up on the pages of a book.
It's a fact that every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
But why
and if it comes from Kensington Palace, why are they briefing against their own grand...
So, you know, in many ways, perhaps they had a discussion there about what shall we reveal in our future memoirs. But clearly, Boris was not successful in persuading Harry to stay, because if we look at the date on that photo, 2020. You know what happened in 2020? That was when they said, right, we're off to Canada, then they moved to California.
That was the upshot of the conversation.
This is the moment. And he said, how far away from Boris can I get? I don't know.
Meghan, book the flights.
There's a very famous royal phrase that the Queen deployed after Harry and Meghan gave their Oprah interview, which was, "Some recollections may vary."
Love that phrase.
And so do I. And after many a mug that has adorned. But after this came out in Boris's book recently in the serialisation, Buckingham Palace were very quick to brief that no member of the royal household or any one of the Queen's aides had asked Boris to go and do this. So there was that, some recollections I made, it happened. But I just thought there is almost...
Can we read from that? There's nobody asked him to do this.
There is almost nothing.
I doubt it. He will come out of nowhere to say something like this. First of all, let's not forget very well. The royal family was literally putting the front that they accepted Meghan, they welcome her. You have Charles walking Meghan down the aisle and everything. You cannot tell me for Harry and Meghan to be completely everything that they're saying and the royal refused. And then let's not forget, okay, the royal family wanted people to see them, the family as a whole, that they accepted Meghan. They're very welcoming. They did the same thing to Princess Diana. She did say it as well when she was talking to the voice coach, that they did welcome her when she was dating Prince Charles.
There's people pushing and there are people pulling, all in the same direction.
So you're being what, pushed by family?
Yeah, my family looked great, and so did my friends, and so did Charles's family. They liked me. They were very good to me when I was a guest.
What does that mean?
We used to change when I was a daughter, and the positions changed.
But as soon as she got married with Prince Charles, they become a completely different person, different people. Princess Diana had said that. And then the same thing with Meghan. Now, the facade that the royal family wanted people to see, again, I'm repeating myself, is that they were welcoming, they're not racist, they're not none of that. But in the back, they digging up Meghan's file, her history, what sort of things she knows, hire a private investigator, supposedly the tabloid, but you know, they all connected. They didn't find anything. They wanted something to use against her, to destroy. Well, they try. Even though they didn't find anything, they pay people to speak ill of her. Nobody wanted to speak ill of Meghan. So they create the narrative. So now, as soon as Harry left, which his brother, William, hired Simon Case to put it in writing to kick him out.
If you want to be private, go back to America and live privately. It's pretty straightforward.
You heard from anyone in the palace thanking you for the, serious defense of them?
I've had some messages communicated to me on behalf of several members of the royal family.
Upper level
people? We're very grateful that. Well, I'm not going to go into who it was, but what I would say is gratitude that somebody was standing up for them.
This is why Harry had to go to court. He wanted to do it the proper way, because after that, once Harry left, that was before court, and Harry took them to court to do the review for the police review, his security, not police, his security review. The narrative that was going on is that they started to call him traitor to the country. Start bad-mouthing him. But in reality, the traitor is William, because there's Harry, who was willing to stay and work and bring someone who's capable of doing the work, which is Meghan, his wife, to do the work. And we've seen some of the things Meghan have done for that short period of time, helping the people. This is how would you say that? The script, is not even a contract, because they didn't even consider her as a working royal when you look deeper into papers, because when Meghan had mental health issue, they didn't consider her as a working royal because she was not employed over there. That was one of the things that popped out with the mental issue when Meghan said that. So Harry brought someone who's capable of doing the work, and she was doing the work. Meanwhile, they trashing her non-stop. The father even said, Meghan's father even said, the whole plan, this was the plan, to mess up the wedding.
Right. So that may have been one of the things that upset her. And of course, the photographs were a setup. I was set up by a guy named Jeff Rayner and another guy named Dylan Howard, who was with American Media, I think. And the whole thing was a plan to actually mess up the wedding.
This was the plan, to mess up the wedding. Meanwhile, while they were trying to mess up the wedding, which I blame Meghan's family, side of the family as well, for allowing themselves to be manipulated. You know, for a few bucks, this is what they did. Okay?
It's not true, because remember, I know that was set up pack shots, but remember he was filmed, the dad, getting measured for the suit, reading up about England. So if he wasn't invited, that doesn't even make sense. And I know the Pats set him up with that, but that was on the pretense that he was going to the wedding. So what she's saying doesn't add up.
Well, why don't we get her on next week? For an interview.
We're not paying her $200 for an interview. The thing was a plan to actually mess up the wedding.
It was an unfiltered interview with Thomas Markle. In retrospect, maybe we should have put a filter on him.
And this is why Meghan cut them out as well.
Meghan and Harry, they said don't apologize. So then I tried to apologize through Jason Knopf, who is one of the representatives, I guess. But I don't know if the apology went through or not, but I tried to apologize for it. I finally took. Okay,
so the royal family in the background, they were doing their best. I believe 99.9% of their energy was to destroy that couple, the wedding, the family, everything about Harry and Meghan. But it did not work. With our prayers and everything, their nonsense will never work. So on the facade, they portrayed the public. They were welcoming. They smiled in front of you, holding Miss Doria's hand, going down the steps and everything. But meanwhile, they were backstabbers. Okay? So you're telling me all of this, all the nonsense, the tabloid that we saw then exists? So the rest of the world is somewhat delusional, but the royal family is in that perfect mindset? You people are full-blown crazy. This is the nonsense you guys are trying to bring in the country, and the US as well. So many people are pushing back. Majority of the US reject the BS that he's doing. The same tactic that the UK is doing. Lie to the people. Don't care about anything. Just spew full-blown BS. And people were supposed to accept this nonsense. They're trying to normalize that freaking BS. They're spreading it all over the world. They did their colonialism nonsense. I was going to use a different word, but I stopped myself. They did their colonialism BS all over the world. Look what's happening in the Middle East. It's the same group. Even though they say it's the Jewish, is Israel, but it's the same group. You could see the connection with them. Erasing lives nonstop. And then they want people to accept their BS, their nonsense. We are rejecting it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Oh my God. Okay, the way Chris, there's the word here. I don't want to say. The way Chris is upset that the book has made them financially independent. Let's see here. 2 minutes and 1 second.
Came out in Boris's book recently in the serialization. Buckingham Palace were very quick to brief that no member of the royal household or any one of the Queen's aides had asked Boris to go and do this. So there was that, some recollections.
Okay, let's not forget as well. The Queen's secretary, okay, at that time when Harry and Meghan were there, at that time was someone that Charles and Andrew had replaced. Let's not forget about that. Okay? The Queen could have easily spoken to Boris, but the secretary, which is Charles, how would you call it, henchman, put as a Queen secretary, because the one that was there before was really looking out for the Queen. When Charles and, what's the other one, Andrew, was not getting what they wanted from the Queen's office, they put their heads together to remove, what's his name, something Gates. I forget his first name. And they put their heads together, remove him, and put, what's the other guy? Oh my God. Edward Young. Edward Young had become the yes sir man for Charles. So they could say anything. The Queen is dead. She cannot respond. So for now, I will take Boris Johnson's word, because with all of the debacle that happened in the back.
Made it happen. But I just thought there is. Or can we read from that?
Because nobody asked him to do this.
There is almost nothing left unsaid in Harry's memoir Spare, and yet this episode does not feature in there. There's a lot of discussion in Harry's book about, you know, what people thought about whether he should stay or go. The fact the Prime Minister effectively begged him in a manly petrol to stay does not appear in Spare. So
Does that surprise you as an admission?
Some recollection.
Well, because maybe, just maybe, okay? Maybe because it has to do with the institution, and then want to bring Boris Johnson into this debacle. Guess what? Next time you guys interview Harry, ask him. Because Boris Johnson had already made it public. It's up to him to verify it. All right, so let's continue.
Maybe we did not ask Boris to persuade him to stay. Just makes me question that series of events that Boris tells
Yeah,
you.
it would have definitely appeared in Harry's book. If
Not much.
Yeah, exactly. Alongside everything else. And who on earth would send Boris Johnson?
Well, even he agrees with that. Apparently, he said it was a ridiculous business.
I think Harry is trying to stay apolitical. He doesn't want to get involved with politics and things like that. So I'm not making excuses for Harry, because Harry's alive. You guys could ask him next time you interview. Well, he will not speak with them. He probably didn't want to get politics involved with all of this. All right, so next time, ask Harry. Let's continue.
As totally hopeless.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I don't even know what he would have suggested. I mean, he wanted him to stay for sort of Team GB, but obviously it didn't work out that way.
Let's talk about the comparison between these memoirs, because these are men who've both lived incredibly public lives, have access to information that would previously have been unshared. I mean, Harry's autobiography Spare, and it's sold over 6 million copies worldwide. It is a phenomenon in the publishing world.
It's record-breaking, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, for all of those that want to levy any kind of criticism at the level of detail that he shared, what you can't take away is the fact that this remains one of the most successful books of all time.
Yes, and it's also enabled Harry and Meghan to be financially independent.
Eh?
In other words, it's made him a lot of money, because you remember when they first said
Tens
they
of
wanted
millions,
to
yeah.
move away from the royal family, they said they didn't want to take any more public money, and that definitely has happened, although Harry then went on to Oprah and said that my father cut off my income stream and all the rest of it.
Charles cut him off, cut his security, everything, and said, go fly. So what is Harry doing? He's flying. He's finding ways to fly. And also, let's not forget, the way Chris Chip make things sounds as if all of the things that Harry have done, the book, the interview, were all planned at the same time. There are dates that proceed before and after all of this happened. They left in 2020, and then the pandemic, security cut, you have Tyler Perry helping them and all of that. People who don't know about this could search them. Look at the docuseries, the O interview and all of that. And then the Oprah interview happened in 2021, almost a year after they left, couple months in between. Okay? Then Spare, the book, Harry's book, came out January 2023. So all of these things did not happen at the same time. There are dates, there are months and years that happen in between. Look at this. They're still talking about them. So if Harry and Meghan wants to clear up some of the things that these people kept on talking about, they could write another book. Guess what? And then they could make money off of it. Because if Harry and Meghan keeps on giving interview about their personal lives, guess what? There's more issues that's gonna happen and all of that. So Harry and Meghan, in my humble opinion, that's what I would have done. Let them talk, because people wants to know their side of the story. Guess what? Let the idiots talk, and then create a book to respond to it, which is why the Oprah interview happened, Because before, they did not want to, they meaning the institution, the royal family, did not want to protect them. They now, meaning the papers, could be, and like Harry have said in some interviews, that they spoon-fed information to the tabloid to write whatever it is that they want to be put public. So it could easily be the royal family who's talking, okay, to the papers.
Criticisms that you've received is that, well, okay, fine, you want to move to California, you want to step back from the institutional role, why be so public? You say you tried to do this privately.
And every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. You know, the family motto is never complain, never explain, but it's just a motto, and it doesn't really hold.
There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining. And private being done through leaks.
Through leaks. They will feed or have a conversation with the correspondent, and that correspondent will literally be spoon-fed information and write the story, and then the bottom of it, they will say that they've reached out to Buckingham Palace for comment. But the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting. So when we're being told for the last 6 years, we can't put a statement out to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family, there becomes a point when silence is betrayed.
So Harry could just wait and said, okay, this is not how it happened. This is how it happened. That's when he write his book, and then people could buy it. So let them talk and then respond to it. The Oprah interview happened because before they left, you have tons and tons of articles still now that was being written about his wife that were completely false. So to clear up things, they did the Oprah interview. And let's not forget, the Oprah interview was done for free. The network, I don't know, Oprah make money off of them through that interview. But Harry and Meghan got zero, nothing. It was for free. Okay? So this guy is talking as if, you know, the spare, everything was perfectly planned. I think Harry and Meghan, they react. The royal family act. Okay, they remove their security, they do different things to them, and then Harry and Meghan react. Guess what? They're living. People had to survive. They have to protect themselves. When you, let's say, a boxer is fighting, when the person your opponent is punching you, you have to, protect yourself. So this is what's happening here. They react to the nonsense that is being thrown at them, and then when they react, the others get upset. So if you don't want them to react, don't talk about them. Focus on their work only. This is the problem that's going on. Chris Chip is acting as if all of these things were planned way ahead. From what I'm seeing, it seems like it's reaction. They cut everything off of them, and then they're making their lives very unsafe. So they need security. The royal family don't want to provide heavy security. So security is not cheap. People you see him working with when he go places, they're not cheap. Doing all of this stuff for him for money because they have a family themselves to raise. Talking about the security people. So things like that are not cheap. So Harry have to do something. Harry and Meghan have to do something to produce money. So these people expect Harry to just keep on taking the blow after blow after blow. Oh my God. Let's get back to the original recording. Oh my goodness. How did they want him to survive? Okay. He uses brain to make money. Oh my God. LOL. They want Harry's wife to a book because they think they'll get more royal money. I hope she never does one. If she do, let it come to the children or in their late teens. These racist reporters can beg and speculate till there's the emoji here, from constipation. Okay, 2 minutes and 4 seconds.
Father cut off my income stream and all the rest of it. So look, I think Harry and Meghan do have to make money. Let's be clear. And his house and his security must cost him a fair few million.
Yeah, because of you guys. Yes, they need to make money. What do you guys expect? And I hope one day, whatever the pain and agony, unnecessary agony that the royal family have caused them, return. They definitely are baggage for God. Return to them. They need to feel that what they put, the nonsense, unnecessary burden they put on them.
You're right, Pete. Whatever you think about it, I think most of us who've read it would agree, particularly in this way. It's a very compelling read.
It's a very compelling read, and it feels
Apart
like
from
it
the
comes
thing in
from.
the field, we don't want to know about that.
It feels very much like it comes from a man that's still doing a lot of healing and is still hurting.
It's a part of the royal story that we wouldn't previously have known about, because obviously other members of the royal family are not going to divulge that.
These people are talking as if their mind is actually normal, because from my understanding, from what I'm seeing coming out of the UK, these people are freaking berserk. They need help themselves. They're talking as if their brain is perfectly normal. They're not. All of them that's speaking here, their brain are not normal. They need major psychological help. All of them.
So it's it's an interesting.
You say that his mother did pretty much by hiding in plain sight with Andrew Morton many decades before.
You know, Diane Hatcher's story, I don't think comes anywhere close to this. Actually.
You think this is more compelling?
It's more. There's just so much more in it.
So interesting then that obviously reports continue to swirl that Meghan's going to do a book, and that listen, she has a very interesting story to tell, I'm sure. But what could possibly sit between her pages that we haven't already read in Spare? Because
her experience, her feeling of her experience.
Did we not get that in the Netflix documentary?
We had 6 episodes of it. I suspect over 400 pages that there could be a lot more detail.
Remember, it was that ITV interview that she did with my colleague Tom Bradby in South Africa that sort of kicked this whole thing off when, he said, is it fair to say you're not really okay? And she said, yeah, it's been a thing being in the royal family. And yeah, thanks for asking, because not many people have asked me if I'm okay. Do you remember that phrase?
Oh, damn. He sort of memorized the damn thing. But you people are acting as if everything is normal when you know very well many other presenters in the UK literally said, you guys are lying for the institution.
When actually it's Harry and Meghan's war on the press and the media.
That's
and as they say at the start of episode 1, they say so many books and shows and stories have been written about us, we wanted to have our own say. And remember, the purpose of the PR office at the royal family is to keep the royals in the press all the time. So you have to remember, when I work in newsrooms, it's a fact that every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
But why
and if it comes from Kensington Palace, why are they briefing against their own grand...
Well, okay,
they will feed or have a conversation with the correspondent, and that correspondent will literally be spoon-fed information and write the story, and in the bottom of it they will say that they've reached out to Buckingham Palace for comment.
It's a fact that every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
But the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting.
It's a fact that every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
So when we're being told for the last 6 years we can't put a statement out to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family, there becomes a point when silence is betrayal.
Oh my God.
That's where it all started. So I think Meghan has an experience that's very different to Harry's.
That's right.
She made those accusations that, of her, about her own mental health and her own instability and whether she was looked after by human resources at Buckingham Palace. So she's got a lot to say.
The one
that wasn't in Harry's book.
The one thing that probably is stopping her is...
That's Meghan's story to tell. It will be on her own perspective. Harry cannot write Meghan's perspective. Oh my goodness, I'm moving it back slightly.
And whether she was looked after by human resources at Buckingham Palace. So she's got a lot to say. The one that wasn't in Harry's book.
The one thing that probably is stopping her is Harry, I suppose. And if Harry wants any form of relationship with his family, then that will not go down well if she was to again spill the beans of the inner workings of the family. So
I don't think Harry's stopping Meghan from doing anything. It's just a matter of time. It's the healing process. When she feels comfortable to deal with it, she'll deal with it. You can force somebody to, after the boudoir, and she's still going through it. I'm pretty sure if she take a peek online and see the BS that's going on, it might trigger certain thing. So it's up to her when at her own terms.
Or using the olive branch.
Oh please, there's no olive branch. This tree have dried out. There's no olive branch. Get olive branch. Look at this, I didn't even see that. Olive Broken Branch. Look at Royal Nicker's face, the way she will love a memoir from Harry's wife, so she could write her BS counter-attack articles. B, you ain't getting none. Alright, so let's see here, 58 seconds.
The olive branch phrase recently when the royal family said happy 40th birthday to Harry, when they put out one tweet.
I mean, I don't think she doesn't care. I mean, what does she care? She's not going to come back to the UK.
Do you think there's currency, that there is still an appetite to hear?
I think if Meghan decided to write,
Yeah,
I think if
absolutely.
Meghan decided to write her own autobiography, it would sell pretty well.
Yeah,
Right?
and that concept of them throwing her to the wolves, not caring for her feeling suicidal. I mean, that is absolutely damaging to the royal family.
Then don't forget that we're going to have two books then, which is Harry and Meghan's side of the story, but there are no books on the other side, no TV interviews when we can find out what's the King's view of how it unfolded, what's Prince William's view of how
Well,
it
if
was.
he's told Boris Johnson, the answers are that you'll probably find it in the next chapter of his memoir.
Fair enough.
And we're going to take it back. Yeah, exactly. Well, sticking with
Well, you guys are talking for them every day, so what's there to open?
But the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting.
That every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
But anyway.
Harry and Meghan, after this break, we're going to be looking at the fact that they've been working solo recently.
The olive branch phrase
Okay, it's starting all over. Let's see here. Let's pause this. Here we go. Are they going solo? Harry looked his old self at Well Child. Meghan wore the dress to a children's hospital event. Those fang deranged reporters. It's 2 minutes and 1 second.
To the royal beach now. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been flying solo recently. Prince Harry has been all over the place. He's been in New York, in London, and most recently in Lesotho, whilst Meghan has hit the red carpet to attend the Children's Hospital Gala in Los Angeles. So, is this a new Sussex strategy, Russell? Divide and conquer?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it can't be anything but, because the two of them going
It could be childcare.
yeah, perhaps.
Let's not rule that out.
Most of the staff have left these days, so...
They didn't have any problems with childcare when they went to Colombia, so they were both able to go there.
Nigeria. It is definitely a new PR strategy, because, the previous ones haven't gone to plan. I mean, let's be fair, I mean, they've had some decent wins, the big deals with Netflix, Spotify.
We've just discussed Spare, that was a publishing,
of course.
not just a success, a phenomenon.
A phenomenon, but this new ploy of setting them out sort of into the wild on their own is probably a good idea, because having seen Harry at the World Child
Into the wild on their own.
I think so, because they've got to have.
She's at a red carpet event. She's not on safari.
I'm not sure why she was wearing this dress at a children's gala, to be honest, but we'll come to this sartorial element in a minute. But for Harry, at the UN Climate Change Conference in New York, he looked in his element, and I watched a lot of it on
That was a gala. Yes, there were children there and everything like that. It was a gala. It wasn't where she's gonna play with the kids or something like that. Oh, whatever. They're still yapping about the red dress anyway.
On the video link when he was speaking, he was holding some round table events, and I was at Well Child to see him in London. So the
Well Child event is where arguably we see Harry at his old Harry best.
It was. I mean, he looked like he was having a great time.
I was in the room when he goes round and he meets all the finalists individually and their families, and and the kids. Let's remember here, Well Child is a phenomenal charity, and it looks after not just the children who have got like life-limiting illnesses, but also their families as well, because they have a very, very difficult time.
If it was up to these people, if Harry was to listen to them, Harry would not be there still as the patron, because the barrage of negativity you hear, you read under those the charities comments, it's just unbelievable. They're the one who's helping the hate within those comment sections. It's unbelievable.
And Harry was, let's be clear, amazing with them. One of the little kids there was like throwing their toy.
My God, thank God. I have to say thank God Harry has his head on his shoulder. He keeps his eyes on the prize and he knows what's matter, because I just don't see. Take for instance, let me see if I remember, Sister Space. When she came out about the racist thing that was said to her when she was at the palace by William's godmother. Oh my God, did you guys see? I don't know if I read some of those comments under Sister, is it Sister Place or Sister something, charity. The thing was completely full-blown crazy. The people, the racists, all of them came under the charities thing. This is the same nonsense Trump is trying to bring over here. Look, perfect example what he did to the vice president on January 6th because he didn't do what he wanted him to do. Send his mob after him. This is the nonsense that they want to normalize and for people to be in fear all the time. I'm telling you, the UK is not right. All right, did I finish listening to that? Oh my God, I didn't know it was that long. Let's see, this might be a video. What in the name? Did I left it? Okay, is that the one? All right, let's pick it up here. Here we go. Okay, so that's the one I read. LOL, apparently the photographer, let's pause it. LOL, apparently the photographers were waiting out the event, hoping to get a photo of Harry at Welchard, but he entered and left at the back. There's the laugh here.
Picking them up and bringing them back. He is great with them. But you've got to think of Wellchild in the same way that you think of the Invictus Games and Centre Ballet. Three charities probably that you would say really important to him, and he's prepared to travel all the way from the west coast of America to London to go to this this event, which rather oddly was at the Royal Lancaster Hotel. So I was hoping to get a picture of Harry standing underneath the sign Royal, but he entered and exited internally in the hotel. He never came outside, much to the disappointment if I saw your photographer outside and never got a picture. But
you guys will never say anything positive anyway. What's the point? What's the point? Just get it through the images to the world child. You people are ridiculous.
During some of his most fraught times with his royal life, Harry has never failed to attend and support the charity.
Yeah.
I've attended a few times and seen him in action in that room. It's quite something, his ability to get down on a level with these children and their families. And you can... It doesn't look like he's faking it, does it, Chris? Like there is genuine empathy.
100% not faking it. This little boy here, Noah, is the one that was like throwing his toys on the floor, and Harry was picking up. I ended up, having a paper aeroplane, game with him as well. They're really just, it's just such a phenomenally good charity, and everyone in the room has a really good thought. There was one point when Harry said in the speech about, the charity, and someone from the audience shouted, "We've got you, Harry." There's a lot of support in the room for him, just like you find it in Invictus Games as well. Yeah. They love Harry because he brings so much attention and focus onto that charity. And after all, that's kind of the point, isn't it? Is that he brings the attention and hopefully the money to fund the work that the charity does.
But it goes beyond that, doesn't it, in so many ways for it?
Harry didn't really have to do any of these, okay? The moment his family kicked him out, William, for instance, kicked him out, he didn't have to go back to any of these things. If he wasn't really into it, there's no way he will go back to them. So for them to even question that, that's ridiculous. And Harry have told them, they don't listen to Harry anyway. It's things that he's passionate about, things that he he aligned himself with. If he didn't care about it, there's no way he will show up on these things.
I've been a pessimist many times because of the work that we end up doing. You can be surrounded by negativity sometimes. But as I said just now, the younger generation of the world has turned me into an optimist because they are the best connected, the most passionate generation that I think that we've ever had. And what we need to do is be able to create a platform so that they can be heard, because they have the solutions to some of the world's biggest problems.
So you're affiliated, as many in your family are, with many, many charities. You're patrons of certain organizations. I read that you have about 15 charities that you're affiliated with. Your brother and sister-in-law have about 35, but that's less than some other members of your family, right? You all are doing it a little bit differently. Yeah. So how do you focus? And tell us, that by contrast, how many charities might other royals be affiliated with in different generations?
Hundreds. My grandmother had to rewrite the rule books to a certain extent. My father, my mother have also done it their way. And now we're the younger generation coming through, trying to do it our way, because the world has changed so much. We believe that by streamlining and by bringing people together in order to effect real positive change is the only way forward. And
you know, it worked for previous generations, and we will always say yes to becoming patron of a charity that we believe in and that we're incredibly passionate about. But I think in today's world, you have to be involved with things that make sense to where your passions lie, rather than potentially turning up to a charity once a year. I don't think that's necessarily beneficial to anybody.
Look at all the other patronages they took away from him. Let's continue.
With these kids, and the way that we hear him and Meghan now on their private engagements talking publicly about their children, unable almost to kind of swallow that parental pride of my kids do that too, or yeah, you know.
Prince Harry, the human touch that he has was simply extraordinary. He came around and spoke to every single athlete. He shook the hand of every single athlete. I was also able to show him a picture of my little girl, who's also a redhead. So I said to him, oh, look, this is my little girl. And I've got a picture of her putting a funny face. And he said, my little girl does that face.
Parental pride of my kids do that too, or yeah, you know.
He was amazing. And without Prince Harry's advocacy and constant commitment to this process, that individual lives like mine wouldn't have been touched.
We're seeing he's always been brilliant with kids, and something like Well Child brings out the sort of child in Harry, which I think is still there.
All right, let's see here. So now they concluded that they're going to do solo events. Apparently, we didn't know about Meghan's event. There's the word here, Myers. Why would you know? This powerful couple has left, so you wouldn't. And all of this, all of the thing Harry and Meghan are doing, guess what? If they were somewhat, I don't know, what would you call those reporters over there? Human? If they were actually human with feeling and understanding, they would have had access with that. Harry have been telling them over since he was a young man to respect his private life. They refuse. He keep on telling them until he has his own little family, and they refuse to listen to him and respect his private life. And he said, F you to all of them. He's not gonna risk his kid's life the same way he has endured. He experienced the unnecessary burden you guys put on him. So, and look at this, they're still talking about him. But anyway, but let's just say, well, Charles needs to the publicity anyway.
No, he stepped back from royal life and has a different kind of life in America. He always made it clear in that sort of exit process that he would continue to honour things that were really important to him, things like
That's
Wild
right.
Child.
The decision that I have made for my wife and I to step back is not one I made lightly. It was so many months of talks after so many years of challenges. And I know I haven't always gotten it right, but as far as this goes, there really was no other option. What I want to make clear is we're not walking away, and we certainly aren't walking away from you. Our hope was to continue serving the Queen, the Commonwealth, and my military associations, but without public funding. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible. I've accepted this, knowing that it doesn't change who I am or how committed I am. But I hope that helps you understand what it had come to, that I would step my family back from all I have ever known, to take a step forward into what I hope can be a more peaceful life. I was born into this life, and it is a great honour to serve my country and the Queen. When I lost my mum 23 years ago, you took me under your wing. You looked out for me for so long, but the media is a powerful force.
Things like, some of his links with the military here. Scotty's Little Soldiers, when he came back in May, he did an event for Scotty's Little Soldiers, which supports children and families who've had military bereavements in their families. So I think when he comes back and does these engagements, and, you see and we see how brilliant he still is at them, it's a slight reminder of what the monarchy has lost.
Yeah.
Because he's now doing this in his own capacity, not as part of the firm. And you cannot detract from the fact that he still does it incredibly well. It's authentic, it's genuine, and it's just that feeling of slight, this is what the monarchy had and doesn't have that element of anymore.
Okay, I agree with you on that. Okay, if the royal family had put a blinder on of their racist feelings and then just put a statement out there for people like her and the others who be writing their BS about his wife, okay, put a stop to the BS, they would have still be over there. Harry and Meghan have said that. They would have still be over there.
Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, you know, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
It was both.
Both.
I needed to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could see where this was headed.
So in conclusion, if you'd had the support, you'd still be there?
Without question.
Yeah.
I'm sad that what's happened has happened, but I know, and I'm comfortable knowing that we did everything that we could to make it work, and we did everything on the exit process the way that it should have been
with
done.
as much respect.
With as much
and,
respect.
Oh my God, we just did everything we could to protect them.
But you guys refused to listen, and the royal family didn't care as long as not them. I think Charles had put something out. Just look at the screen. He put a statement out. If something happened to Harry, you know, it won't matter. So Harry have to take care of himself. Let's continue.
That has gone.
And especially with Meghan as well, as you know, together they were phenomenal. And you know, you just think about what could have been if the story was different.
They're desperately trying to control the narrative because they know that if they lose it, then the truth will come out. The same fruit, if avocado is a fruit.
It is, yeah.
This is how it was covered for her. This is how it was covered for her. If you don't see the difference and understand why it's being reported that way, then I can't help you. I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't.
With Harry and Meghan, it could have been a whole different kind of ball game. Of course, they upped and left, and things didn't work out, and it's all very acrimonious.
They left because William kicked them out. William hired Simon Case to put it on paper for him to leave. All this is court document. You guys could go to court and get those files, because due to the review that Harry had asked for security, they refused to give him security. So to make another set of eyes to see the full-blown stupidity the royal family was doing, unnecessary stupidity, Harry asked a judge to review it. And then the judge agreed with the institution, so he left. Okay? So don't just say he just left like this. He even wanted to do half in. They refused. They say either he's all in or all out.
Began to address Granny about the 5 options. Your Majesty, you've seen the 5 options? Yes, she said. We all had. They'd been emailed to us. 5 different ways of proceeding. Option 1 was continuance of the status quo. Meg and I don't leave. Everyone tries to go back to normal. Option 5 was full severance. No royal role, no working for Granny, and total loss of security. Option 3 was somewhere in between, a compromise, closest to what we'd originally proposed. I told everyone assembled that, above all, I was desperate to keep security. That was what worried me most, my family's physical safety. I wanted to prevent a repeat of history, another untimely death, like the one that had rocked this family to its core 23 years earlier, and from which we were still trying to recover. I'd consulted with several palace veterans, people who knew the inner workings of the monarchy and its history, and they all said option 3 was best for all parties. Meg and I living elsewhere part of the year, continuing our work, retaining security, returning to Britain for charities, ceremonies, events. Sensible solution, these palace veterans said, and eminently doable. But the family, of course, pushed me to take option 1. Barring that, they would only accept option 5. We discussed the 5 options for nearly an hour. At last, the bee got up and went round the table, handing out a draft of a statement the palace would soon be releasing, announcing implementation of option 5. Wait, I'm confused. You've already drafted a statement? Before any discussion? Announcing option 5? In other words, the fix was in this whole time? This summit was just for show? No answer.
And thank God they refused the half in and half out. Why? Because the things that he's doing now, they will want to know in advance. That way they could sabotage his work. So all in or all out, guess what? They made the decision for him, and it was the best decision. That way they don't know a damn thing what's going on with what Harry or Meghan are doing. Okay? So don't just say they left. They kicked them out. Okay, Harry and Meghan have also said it in the Oprah interview. If the royal family disagree with that, guess what? There's the court. They could put their statement out and said, no, that didn't happen, this didn't happen. Okay, I remember before the, I think before the Oprah interview, before Spare, before they put anything out, I remember saying, oh my God, they need to write something somewhere to put their side of the story out, because I could see in the future they will rewrite everything. And thank God, Harry, they did the interview, they did Spare and all of that. So now all the key players, well, not all, with the exception of the Queen, most of the key players are alive. If they have anything to say about Harry's book, guess what? This is the time now. Well, with, like I said, with the exception of the Queen, this is the time where they could rebuke it. These reporters, the derangers talking about Harry's book and all that mean nothing. Okay? The royal family, if they have something to say, if they refuse or they don't agree with what Harry said, guess what? They're alive. They could put their side of the story.
Yes, now, but just think of a different path that being taken by whatever side is to blame here. We could have a very different situation within the royal family and a very powerful couple.
And you know what's the problem here is, because you got stupid people running the country, and then I don't know, do these people went to school for their work? They spent what? How many years did they go to school for what they're doing now? Because I do not understand. There is absolutely no education who will train people, journalists, or any form of profession to disregard ethical behavior. There is absolutely no profession that will tell people, their students, to disregard ethical profession. But these people, you got the royal family who has money pretty much growing on trees, for it seems like money never stops. But these people have to work for money, and they went, if they did go to school for their profession, they throw that out the window. What really? Well, then again, you got Will Lewis, who came to the U.S., who's trying to mess up Washington Post. I don't know any presentable places who will take these people serious, because the stupidity that they're writing, I mean, they might as well write fan fiction books or write script for movies. I know there's different form of ways of writing, but the imaginary run wild, and it's affecting real lives. It's freaking ridiculous.
It's a crying shame, but obviously this was a family decision that they made. They put their mental well-being and the well-being of their young children, they say, ahead of royal duties. And what we see now is them trying to forge their own paths. Talk me through this event that Meghan attended, because as much as Harry was in London for the Well Child Awards, which means so much to him, this is a cause very dear to her.
It is, and I think Chris has just touched upon, it is a gaping hole within the royal family, and this event, we didn't know Meghan was going to go. It was a surprise that she turned up again, riding solo. Is this part of the PR scheme? But
what scheme? Everything that Meghan, there's a scheme. She's been with this organization before. There are times she go and read books for the kids and all of that. What scheme? What is wrong with these people? This is what I mean. It's like everything that Meghan does is a scheme. What scheme? These people are freaking ridiculous. But anyway.
Supporting a cause that's close to her heart.
Of course, she is doing that.
Couples have to do everything together.
Yeah, well, I don't think they will be now, because it is an absolute ploy to see how this goes. How will they be?
They're managing just well. It's you guys who's making it a problem where there's no problem. And I consider the Children's Hospital of LA. There's different ones in different part of the country. It's almost like Wild Child in a way. All right, so that's that. You guys want you don't want her to be in the country. She left, that's fine. So she's focusing her energy on things that's over here.
It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
You know, we ask for forgiveness and please come back.
As you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life. You are all in this together, and if I may speak personally, we are all in this together, because asking for help was one of the best decisions that I ever made. You will be continually amazed how life changes for the better.